Hi, friend. Welcome to Holly's Highlights, a podcast designed to encourage, inspire, and equip you to intentionally live your life full of purpose. I'm your host, Holly Kirby, motivational speaker, leadership cultivator, marketing strategist, and personal cheerleader. Let's check out today's highlight.
This program is sponsored in part by Murdoch Financial. Your future deserves planning. For more information, visit www.murdochfinancial.com. Equitable Advisors, LLC, member of FINRA and SIPC.
Hello, my friends. Today we are talking about the value of one-on-one meetings. Now, I was recently watching a video where there was a clip in there of a female boss and a male employee, and they were getting ready to meet for their one-on-one meeting, and they were coming from two completely different perspectives. The female boss was going into this thinking, oh, this is going to be a horrible meeting. I'm dreading this. I'm going to have to let this person go. They haven't taken the feedback I've been providing for them. They haven't improved in their performance throughout this past amount of time. And I'm really just dreading this meeting. Whereas then you look at the employee and he is pumped. He is so excited going into this, and he's telling a friend of his that, I've worked so hard and I've been taking outside educational classes to help me in this area. I really hope that they see the improvements I've made. I really think I'm going to get that promotion that I've been up for or that I'm hoping to get. And this is at perfect timing because my wife just lost her job. And so this will be good for us. This will be good for us. And so as you're sitting there watching this clip, you can just see the train wreck about to happen, right? Completely contradictory to each other of what is going to be the anticipation of the outcome of this meeting. And that can so often be how we as team members or as leaders feel in our roles. The unknown of expectations or misalignments. And that is really the purpose that goes into the value of needing to have these one-on-one meetings between staff members and levels of leadership. These are often held by departments, and they actually are rated the most useful meeting according to workers in tech. Another term may simply be a check-in. So if the words one-on-ones are throwing you off of what that is, you're used to a different type of meetings, think of this as just a check-in. But what a one-on-one is not just a typical work meeting. It's not just a staff meeting of sorts. It really is focusing on mentoring an employee. But keep in mind, it's also an opportunity for that employee to provide feedback to you as the leader. Now, Simon Sinek encourages us to be the leader that you wish that you had. So the question lies, how can we as leaders have healthy and productive one-on-one meetings with those entrusted to our care? Well, to determine that, we're first going to need to look at the benefits of one-on-ones. And there's 4 I want to point out to you. First of all is retention, because in one-on-ones, you're providing that open communication and regular feedback that can help avoid unnecessary turnover. The second one's going to be building the business. Those one-on-ones help improve productivity. Even motivation and quality of a team member's work goes up. And they can create a loyalty or a buy-in because of the opportunity to have that team member share back with you. They're buying into that business. And they can also offer that personal growth to your team and work on problem solving instead of just problem identifying, as well as they can help increase the sales and transaction counts, which every business is looking for, right? The third one is they help cultivate the culture. So having that one-on-one, taking that time as a leader to sit down with those that you oversee builds a trust in your leadership. It can help boost morale and develop that teamwork mentality. It also shows a respect to the team because you are taking time to sit down and hear them out. But it also is going to gain their respect towards you and also credibility to you as a leader. And then the fourth one is it protects the brand and the business. So sitting down and having those one-on-one meetings can help avoid some of that negative PR, depending on what age group you work with. If you're working with teenagers or those younger, it can also kind of negate the over parental involvement because the teen knows exactly where they lie, or even, let's face it, some spouses tend to get a little involved, so it can help ease that as well. And then, of course, protecting from legal issues because you're already aware of situations. You're already having those communications and those conversations. So all of that can help protect the brand. So all four of those, the retention, building the business, helping cultivate the culture, and protecting your brand and your business are all benefits to why it's so important to sit down and have these one-on-one meetings with your team. Now, all of these things we are responsible for as leaders. And as leaders, we're entrusted with those we lead. It's not a right, nor is it just an obligation, but it truly is something we've been entrusted with as a leader. When you look at it that way, it really does take a different approach on things. That our goal as a leader is to coach, it's to train, it's to develop and help build the bench in our businesses. It's to help invest and mentor and grow. And of course, that retention, right? Going back to Simon Sinek, another thing he has said before is that leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. So that's exactly what you're doing with one-on-one meetings, is showing that care to those that have been entrusted to you and your leadership. So that brings us to question number 2. How can we set up one-on-ones for success? Well, we can look at 3 steps again here. The first one's going to be all in our approach. There's so much that can go into the approach of a one-on-one. One thing you can look at is the timing. Never send a text when angry or hungry or emotional. We talk about that in my book, Facelift. Well, the same thing applies here for having a one-on-one, is we need to make sure that we're not sitting down to having these meetings when we are needing to have that meal, going into lunchtime, or we've just come out of something very emotional, or we're angry about something, or whatever it might be, or even tired, right? Avoid them then at all costs. Try to set it up for success with that team member in a different frame of mind. Avoid the distractions as well. I try to turn my phone over so it doesn't light up, and maybe it's not going to distract me, but it could distract even the person I'm with, which signals, oh, something else is vying for my attention. And so even removing some of those distractions or avoiding the distractions by simply turning your phone over so that that person you're with, they are aware they are what's most important right now. I think that's so important. My dad used to always tell us that the person that's most important should be the person that you're sitting with right now, not that phone call, unless it's an emergency, or not that text you need to send real quick, but the person that you're presently with. Of course, with that timing also is allotting enough time, not just, I have, quick 10 minutes before we're end of day or 5 minutes before my next meeting, but making sure you allot enough time, because just as we shared, this is just as much for you as for them. And so you need to allow them enough time to be able to share what they need to with you. So you might be able to get all your stuff out in 5 minutes, but does that allow them enough time to respond to things that you need to share with them, or for them to bring forth to you items that might be on their list to talk to you about? Another thing we can look about in our approach is to praise publicly and discipline privately. We should never speak negative in front of others, right? So cautious on that. And I know that for some, they do not hold this mindset, but I believe it's tried and true. It's something I will always live by, is praising publicly, but always discipline privately. Another thing with our approach is avoiding assumptions. So when we do sit down in those one-on-one meetings, and instead of just off the wall, this manager said that you need to work on this, but I really don't know why. You need to work on it. That's not going to work, right? That's not going to be effective. So have examples of what critiques that you need to share with that team member of how they can improve their performance, maybe a situation that took place, or a project that didn't go well, or a time lapse that they had on something that was due. Don't just throw it out there as a blanket statement. Make sure you have something concrete to be able to provide for them so that they can improve. Along with those assumptions, making sure that we don't assume that they know the expectation. We sometimes forget, especially when we've been at a company for a long amount of time, the amount of time someone else has been there, right? And what has been said or done or expectations and rules that have come and gone. And so instead of assuming that they know the expectations, go over them again with them, help them out, give them the benefit of the doubt. And don't always assume that they've been shown the right way to do something either. As we have people move in and out of leadership roles, things can be taught a little differently. And so it's never harmful to gently show them the right way to do something, even if it's showing them again. We can also show that care and compassion, as everyone has different learning styles and abilities and talents, and making sure that we're never sitting down in a one-on-one to come from a judgmental place, but setting that tone where we show the care and compassion to them. One way to set that tone is to watch the you usage, right? That can create a defensiveness. So for example, instead of, I want to sit down with you and talk about your behavior, you can instead change that, soften it to, hey, I'd love to sit down and connect. We just wanted to help with some areas for some personal growth here in the company. And it's a softer way where they're going to be more open and receptive to hearing what you have to say. Make sure that you focus on the topic at hand. So just as we talked about making sure we have examples, make sure that we stick to what we're sitting down to talk with them about. There are some times that we can get a little heated or frustrated. And so we start bringing up stuff that doesn't really help deal with the issue. It's called chasing a squirrel is what I often refer to it. And it can just add fuel to the fire. So stay on topic. And then at the end of the day, remember, we're all on the same team. So we should have our leaders' backs, right? Those who are our senior leaders above us, as well as those who might be on the similar roles that we fulfill, being able to support them. But it also is very much a same team concept with our employees that we're working with, our team members, whomever we are having these one-on-ones with. We need to come together collectively that at the end of the day, we're on the same team. So work as a way to, as I always like to say, that everyone leaves with their dignity. And our approach is going to help accomplish the actual content and the outcome, which we're going to get to here in a moment. Now, technology entrepreneur Ben Horowitz says the key to a good one-on-one meeting is the understanding that it's the employee's meeting rather than the manager's meeting. That can take a different look on these meetings. That as we go into that step number 2 of how to set up the one-on-ones for success is our attitude. Realizing that this meeting, this one-on-one, this check-in is just as much for us as it is for them. What do I not do well? What do I need to hear that I probably don't want to hear? These are things we should be open to where we can learn and grow as we step away from that meeting too. And as we're having our attitude with our team members and those we've been entrusted to lead, we're also entrusted with that person and their information. So things that they share with us, we at times should be a vault. Now, I completely understand that if things are illegal or something that could cause them harm, we need to speak out and get help and seek those who would be able to advise us and provide wisdom or even experience into something like this. But what our team members share with us is not the next gossip to go share around the next staff meeting with the senior leadership. It's to be vaulted, that all of our team members, all of our employees should be able to trust us. And as well with that, the trust that we can take action or even take action in following up with them about any ideas or questions that they have that we need to research or inquire about with our superiors, or if we just need to be a sounding board with them. The lack of action of just being able to sit there and listen and let them be able to share with us what they need to get off and vent or ask questions about. We're truly there to mentor, right? And help build them up in their growth of their role. And again, learn from them as well. Our attitude should be of complete humility. Let the wise person show up, not the foolish. That's something I've had to live by often when I get into meetings that have my face turning red or my blood boiling, is let the wise person show up, not the foolish. And so often humility goes into that. At the end of the day, it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to not win every war, right? And it is okay to have not compromise who we are, but make compromises that are in the best interest of the business and even of the people that we're entrusted to serve. So adding our attitude of humility. Last aspect of our attitude would be listen more than you speak. My dad always taught me that we have one mouth and two ears for a reason. Now, growing up, I talked a lot. I never understood that. But now as a leader, I get it. To listen more than we speak in these one-on-ones and be able to truly hear what our team members are telling us, what our employees are saying, and allow them the opportunity to have that safe space with us to be able to share. And again, that really has so much to do with with our attitude. Now, the third benefit we can look at is our application. So again, going back to what we just alluded to a little bit ago is what we're talking about, the content of that one-on-one. We can have openers. So something of, what's something you're looking forward to this weekend, or what's one of your recent accomplishments you're most proud of here at work or in your life. But then once we get past some of those things, it can be hard to attack the nitty gritties of the meeting that we're really needing to tackle, right? Maybe you're having to deal with a difficult issue or even doing a write-up or something like that. So we can do a tactic that's referred to as bookends, where you provide a compliment, then you address the issue, and then you encourage with a compliment. And it's not that necessarily that you're sugarcoating, although let's face it, it kind of is, but it's really allowing them to first hear what they're doing well, but then let them know there is improvement that can be made. And let's face it, we all have improvements that can be made. But then you're also going to re-encourage them. And that could be going back to the compliment, or it could even be what issue you just addressed. So maybe you provide a compliment to them and they say that, one thing that we really like to see you work on is this. And I fully believe you can get there. I want to help you. I want to support you in doing that, but I know you can do it. So again, you've complimented them, you've addressed the issue, and then you're encouraging with a compliment or your belief in them. Another tactic, for lack of better words, that you can use in the content is mirroring. So sometimes we're going to have those one-on-one conversations where it's like, they're not getting it. They really are not understanding. I keep sitting down with them and it's like, I just want to beat my head up against the wall, right? They're just not getting it. And these conversations tend to be a little bit more, I don't want to say stern, but they're not as, just friendly. But you're sitting there and you have to end the conversation with, okay, what I hear you saying is, and then you repeat back to them to make sure that you're understanding what they're trying to tell you. Or in a different scenario, you might need to ask it of them. Hey, can you summarize what we just talked about just to make sure we're on the same page? Because otherwise it's just like the example earlier leading into this where, the boss and the employer are going into the meeting and they have totally two different contradictory perceptions of what this meeting is going to be for. We want to make sure that we're on the same page, and mirroring can really help us depart a meeting and make sure that we are leaving on the same page to go tackle whatever needs to be tackled or addressed. Sometimes in our one-on-ones, we're also going to have to be the moderator, where something might come up where they start, complaining about Sally Sue. And it's like, well, hold on. She's actually here in the office today. Let's go grab her and let's bring her in and let's see if we can address this. So making sure that we're loyal to the absent, but stepping in as that moderator, bringing someone else in when we need to, so that we can help our team deal with conflict and be able to do so in a healthy way. Now, in these conversations that we have, these check-ins, make sure to listen for trigger words, things that might open up for maybe an opportunity to remind your team of the benefits that your company offers. If they start talking about, I'm really struggling with this health issue, maybe sharing with them, oh, did you know that we offer, this gym membership, or we offer service for you to be able to go see a counselor or whatever it might be. But listen for those trigger words that might allow you the opportunity to offer them a resource or some sort of support. And that can sometimes come from within your own benefits. Or perhaps it might alert you to a conflict you may need to address, such as, that might pull into a moderator role then, or even an opportunity to retain them. So if they start talking about how, they've been talking with the company that approached them or whatever, that starts letting you know they have one foot, out the door. So if they are a employee that you want to retain, you might want to get on the ball. You might want to see what needs to be done in that retention. Now, some applications or content I suggest is getting to know that employee's love language, because that really helps us show appreciation for them. And it can also help with that retention too, because sometimes we're doing all these things, we're giving them these gifts or whatever, and their love language was words of affirmation. They just needed an attaboy, right? So making sure we love or know their love language so that we can best meet them in a way that they will be receptive of what we're trying to express and share with them. Another one is to learn their learning style. This helps us know how they best grasp the information. So if we sit there and we're telling them all this information, but they're one that needs to see it, that helps us know we need to change how we kind of present things to them. So adapting to the different learning styles for each of our team members. But overall, ensure the one-on-one has the vibe of a natural conversation. We're looking for that aimed of growth for personally and professionally and even relationally. And so as you do that with your team, you want it to be natural. You want to be able to get to know your team and for both of you to feel comfortable being able to sit down and have that time together. Now, as you conclude, don't hesitate to see how you can grow. As we've talked about, this is just as much for you. So you can ask questions for their feedback. Things like, what is something I need to hear that maybe I don't want to hear? Or what is something we should be talking about that we aren't talking about? Or what's a challenge our team is experiencing that I might not be aware of or I need to know? Or even, how can I best support you this week? Those are all different ways that we can tap into our own opportunity for feedback from our team, which is great for our own learning and growth and development. Now, former U.S. President Woodrow Wilson said, "The man who is swimming against the stream knows the strength of it." And this is a reminder that we need to anticipate the challenges that come so that we can be prepared within these one-on-ones. So question number 3, what are the challenges or the growth opportunities for leading one-on-ones? We've got to be aware of them, right? So 5 of them I would share with you. We need to prioritize having one-on-ones with our team, but then also prepare for them. So whether that be feedback for them, content to discuss, be prepared so it can be productive. The second one would be self-aware. So as a leader, we must have emotional intelligence, maturity as a leader. And if you feel you or one of your leaders could use help in this area, I would encourage you to check out season 5, episode 1 here in Holly's Highlights, where we thoroughly go over with a professor in emotional intelligence. So really good episode there. Third one is it can be a challenge for you to be vulnerable, especially with your team. It is so hard for us to just put ourselves out there sometimes. But Headspace Health informs us that being vulnerable can help us to better know ourselves while cultivating and strengthening our relationships with others. Let me say that again. Being vulnerable can help us to better know ourselves while cultivating and strengthening our relationships with others. And that's exactly what we're doing in these one-on-ones. And Brené Brown acknowledges this is a challenge for many, as she boldly claims to be vulnerable is a courageous act. So you are a leader. We have to take courage each and every day, right? This is another area to take courage in, to be vulnerable with your team. It is okay to say, I can relate. I messed up when I started in this business too. This is what I did. This is what I learned from it. Whatever might be going on that you can relate with them or share with them to be relatable, but be vulnerable with your team. And that's not always a comfortable spot to be in. Another challenge is in that uncomfortable is sitting in the awkward, especially if it's a hard conversation. Dealing with a conflict or accountability is sitting in the awkward. If you're like me, if there's any dead space, white space, whatever you want to call it, I feel like I need to fill it. I'll keep talking on or ask them a question or maybe just skip over something. No, my friends, as leaders, we have got to sit back and get a little comfortable in sitting in the awkward. And that's the ironic part, is it's not comfortable. Not for many of us, but we've got to learn to sit in it because it allows the space, allows the time, allows the silence for the other person to be able to think or respond or even feel like they need to respond, or if nothing else, for both of you just to sit in the awkward. And lastly, the challenge to follow through with company procedures, such as introducing new or unpopular policies or documents, or even having to complete a negative write-up on that employee. That can be a challenge. That can be a hard thing because not everyone deals with conflict well. But it's so important that if you have certain company procedures that you need to introduce, or a policy that has to be implemented and you're the one having to share it, or a write-up that needs to be done, anything like that needs to be accomplished. It's going to be a challenge. Sit in the awkward of having those moments, even where you have to press forward in doing some things that it doesn't come with the fun part of being a leader, right? Now, Steve Jobs said that it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and then tell them what to do. We hire smart people so that they can tell us what to do. And the application here is we need to be listening to our team, what our team is saying. Everything that happens within our company, whether it be surveys that you do, perhaps you do a survey through like SurveyMonkey if you do it yourself, or maybe you're a part of a deeper survey such as with Gallup. Listen to what your employees are trying to tell you. Don't just write it off of, oh, well, someone was in a bad mood or whatever, because research shows that for every one person who speaks up, another 10 feel that way or are thinking it. So really look at those comments and even the analytics of those results of those surveys to be able to see what changes might need to be made. And then have a pulse on the culture of your organization. Make sure that you are tapping into being around the water cooler or taking people to lunch or maybe even attending that out of work social so that you can have a pulse on that culture of your organization, because the culture of our businesses is so vital to our overall team member mood and business reflection, but also the production and even that retention that goes forward into the sustainability of our business. So have a pulse on the culture of your organization. Now, the final question most likely on your mind right now is how often should you be having one-on-ones? Well, there's no necessarily right or wrong, but it depends on your availability. What can you commit to and be consistent with or follow through on? And also look at how big your team is and who all is involved. If it's just you, can you train some of your leaders to help spread the load? Or is the team divided by levels? So do you take senior leader levels for one-on-ones and your senior leaders take leaders and your leaders take your front line? How does it work? Again, what can you all be consistent with and committed to and then follow through on is so important. And then what does your logistics look like? Are there a few shifts such as day shift, night shift, and graveyard? Does everyone work in the office? Are they remote? Are they hybrid? Do you all work in the same city or state or spread across the country or world? Depending on the nature of your business, is there a constant sense of urgency or high turnover or short or long time frame projects? All of these can help you determine the frequency of your one-on-ones. Weekly, monthly, quarterly, or for some, they do them even annually. Now, I've worked for companies that had annual one-on-ones, quarterly one-on-ones, monthly one-on-ones, and even no one-on-ones. There's not a cookie cutter formula. It's doing the right thing for your organization. Author and educator Peter F. Drucker said, management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. See the difference there? Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. So I highly encourage you to do the right things in leading your team through having at least a one-on-one, but do what works for your team. It doesn't have to look exactly like someone else's. Now, if you're still a little nervous to implement one-on-ones with your team, or if you'd like just to learn more on this topic and grow in this area, I'd recommend 4 resources for you. For our readers, I would recommend Coaching for Improved Work Performance. My apologies, I forget who wrote it, but Coaching for Improved Work Performance. You should be able to find that on Amazon or any bookstore. And then the second one is my all-time favorite. You've heard me mention it before. I think not only leader should read this, but I think every team member at any job should read this. And that is Lessons from the Mouse. I love, love, love that book, Lessons from the Mouse. Then second of all, for our auditory learners, I suggest many of the episodes right here on Holly's Highlights podcast. There are many leadership episodes, such as how to be a leader others follow, how to be a leader of character, emotional intelligence as a leader, what our body language says about us, what your love language is, how to have those tough conversations, how to even talk to people, nuggets of wisdom, even one about learning our leadership style. So there are so many that are available here. I just highly recommend that you just go through and find what might be relative to you. And then the third, perhaps even find a mentor. So my mom used to teach us, have a mentor and then be a mentor. So someone you can learn from and then one you can pay it forward to in investing and pouring into them. But look around you in your life of who stands out that you want to learn from their modeling of their exhibited behaviors and outcomes. I'm not going to go to someone who's in debt if I need financial advice, right? So you want to go to someone who what you want to learn in and how you want to grow. You're not going to be a cookie cutter of them, right? You are you. You have your own identity. You have your own strengths and talents and purpose in life. But we can learn from mentors who have not only gotten it right, but gotten it wrong and was able to get back up and keep moving, right? And so look for mentors in your life that you go, I really want to learn from them. It's not that I want to be like them. I want to learn from them because I feel like they have a lot to teach me and they exhibit the behaviors I want to reflect as well. And then the fourth one would be hire a good leadership or life coach. I just happen to be versed in this and would be honored to work with you. But if not me, I highly recommend that if you're just needing someone that can kind of come alongside you and coach you, this would need to be someone with wisdom and advice in your area, your niche, I think is very important, that can have some insight in diverse areas, but to be able to help you grow as a leader, be able to approach things in a perhaps out of the box thinking way that you haven't looked at, but then also challenge you, hold you accountable. And often we don't like that accountability, but a good leadership life coach can help push back and get us out of that comfort zone a little bit. So if so, I'd love to connect with you. Feel free to go on to hollykirby.com and then under work with me, you can find all the information there. As U.S. Ambassador and Representative Pete Hoekstra said, real leadership is leaders recognizing that they serve the people that they lead. So may we all be the best leaders we can through serving our team well as we buy into the benefits of conducting one-on-ones, having successful one-on-ones, overcoming the challenges of one-on-ones, and truly listening to our team in those one-on-ones and check-ins. Good luck, my friend. You've got this. Thank you for joining me on this journey of life. I hope that today's highlight has been encouraging, inspiring, and equipping so you can go out and live your life full of purpose. I'd be honored if you'd take a moment to leave a review, or better yet, subscribe. We can also stay in touch by joining my email list at hollykirby.com. That's HOLLYCURBY.com. Until next time, make it a great day for a great day.